I'm very glad to introduce the moderator of this session, who besides many academic accomplishments and passion for education, he has always been connected to the students' community and their culture by his role, by his work in the research, use of technology and innovation in academics, in team building, as well as in leadership. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the moderator for this session, Professor and Principal, Ganpat University, Professor Dr. Hemal Shah. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, and a very good afternoon to all. Let me quickly introduce to our panel member. Already the tone has been set. So may I first introduce Dr. Amit Bhatt. He is basically a program director and a professor at DA-IICT. He got his B from MS University, master's from Duke, and PhD from NC State University. He has got more than 30 years experience in academia and the industry, both in India and abroad. He is handling a prestigious program known as Anchor Institute program, funded by Department of Industry. He is a consultant to Qualcomm and Cadence. In the past, he has served as a Fulbright scholar in UI/UC. So welcome, Dr. Amit. Next panel member that we have is Dr. Saurabh Shah. He is presently working as a professor and the dean at School of Technology, GSFC University. Also, he is a board and governing council member. He is a technology enthusiast and has more than 20 years of experience in academia and the research. His area of interest includes medical image analysis, data analytics, computer vision, machine learning, pattern recognition. And a couple of students have already been awarded for their PhD under his supervision. And the next eminent person that we have amongst with us is Shri Kamlesh Yagnik. He is the president of Sarvajanik University, Surat. He is also a chairman of 109 years old Sarvajanik Education Society, catering to an educational needs over 32,000 students. He has an experience of over 3 decades in the areas of technology, education, and energy. As a president of Sarvajanik University and SRK Knowledge, he promotes and nurtures the research in the field. He also facilitates the vocational skills to the tribal of the South Gujarat. So on behalf of all the members, let me heartily welcome to all our panel members. And already the tone has been set. So we know due to the pandemic, all the education and the education ecosystem was almost on the toes, right? We were unprepared, but this has also given us an opportunity to accept that as a challenge and show that how along with the the barriers we could still able to continue delivering the education to our students, right? So as a beginning, may I request our panel member to start the discussion over the challenges that we have observed and experienced during this pandemic, where the education itself was becoming difficult, and then we are almost on the verge to make the students learn from home, and we as an academician to work from home. So my first question is, what are the challenges that we have observed? This question, let's start with Dr. Amit.
Good afternoon, and thank you very much, Dr. Hemal. Thanks for inviting me to this GESIA forum. We all know that this pandemic, as Professor Hemal has rightly pointed out, that came rather uninvited and sneaked up on us, and probably we were not prepared. But I would also like to point out that our industry friends have thought about it a long time ago, because I remember when I was working at ARM in 2007, we used to have regular drills that a team would be asked to work from home for 6 or 8 days and finish a continued part of the project. And the idea was that if anything happens, say any natural calamity or riots or whatever, then can we still finish our projects within time? So the idea of doing things online is not very new, at least for industry. Now in academics, we didn't have any kind of exposure to it. And being a professor, we usually look at the student's face and, judge whether, whatever we are saying is sinking in or not. So I feel that, there are four major stakeholders, students, then, teachers, parents, and, various technology enablement companies, who provide the software. I think from the student side, I think they are the most affected party. Naturally, we know that distance learning or online learning is going to be the future because, it opens up so many vistas. You can learn from a professor who is sitting in, say, America or Europe and, can give you a lecture. So that is the way to go. But in short term, there are challenges like, for example, we expect our students to have enough bandwidth and, enough devices to listen to a lecture. But, sorry to say, but economic situation of all the students is not the same. And having one laptop per child is a luxury. Sometimes, there is one laptop in the whole family, or there is not even a laptop, they just have a smartphone. So that is what we call as digital divide is coming up, that, there are some students, though they are brilliant, they are not able to attend labs properly. They have to miss some labs because their brother or sister is attending another class. So this is the first major problem. Second one is conducting labs. There are certain areas which are very conducive to learn online, but there are certain areas which say involves hardware or involves a specialized licensed software, which requires a little bit of handholding. Students are not able to learn it properly without, a guidance. And the third major factor is the absence of peer-based learning, because I think that is the major part of studying. Because professor can come in and speak for 40 hours, but that is not the same as what you sit after the class with your friends, discuss the problem, and solve the homework assignment or projects together. So these are some of the problems of students. Teachers also have the same problem because, in the class, you have blackboard and chalk, or, you have overhead projector, or, you've got back projection screen with a tablet to write. You can go on the fly, you can change things by judging, by looking at students' faces. But, here, so the professor also needs to be prepared. So these are some of the challenges. And of course, technology providers are there. Especially in the time of exams, there are platforms like Metal. I don't know how, they are all learning, we are learning, they are learning. There is a problem of cheating in the class, of course, birthright of students to cheat, and, you can't expect them not to do it. But, this thing still goes on. So we will figure out some way as the time goes on. As I said, in conclusion, that, this is the way of the future. There is no doubt about it. But in short term, we have seen many problems, and, sooner we find the solutions to it, better it is.
That's great. Next question to Professor Saurabh is, what are the pedagogical practices that you have observed and experienced that professors have evolved in this situation with the limited resources and the accessibility?
Right. So thanks, Dr. Hemal, for a gentle introduction. And I would also like to thank GESIA team for the opportunity given. And it's really my pleasure to share this stage with the esteemed panel members. So as rightly pointed out by Dr. Amit about the challenges, it was digital divide and lots of challenges faced by students and faculties. But with every challenge comes lots of opportunities. So it was so quickly adapted, even teachers had not thought of how it's going to happen, but they adapted so quickly. But now, eventually, after getting the feedback, they realize that there is a lot to do. It's not only just teaching online, right? So engagement of the students, making the sessions interesting. These were few of the challenges. And over a period of time, based on feedback, brainstorming, in fact, they came out with lots of good strategies like flipped classroom, blended learning, breakout rooms, so that you can keep students engaged to give that experience of peer learning, right? So that came eventually, right? So I think that year 2020 was a year of realization and experimentation. And there were so many novel experiments. There were so many pedagogical innovations. In fact, there were series of symposiums organized where professors also exchange their ideas that like different subject require different treatment. If we talk about mathematics, then it's very challenging to teach online, right? If we talk about the programming, then it requires altogether different treatment. So there were a series of such symposiums organized in-house. Everyone said their pedagogical innovations, new tools, technology, and that is how gradually they made it more interesting. So phase one was just to ensure that we teach online. After acquiring certain experience, phase two was how to make it more interesting and engaging. And phase three, that is 2021, how to meet the objectives. So yeah, it is not so simple to replace on-campus teaching, but up to great extent, we could make it. The major challenge was giving hands-on experience. So yeah, even faculties tried a lot to go for virtual labs. In fact, they recorded the practicals in the laboratories and they uploaded on the portal. So these were few innovations and experiments which were carried out by the professors. Not only that, during brainstorming, there were so many new ideas came up from the students also. In fact, up to that extent that teachers were managing with limited resources. You won't believe that they prepared their own stylus and teaching on mobile screen, and they were using it as digital pad. So that kind of innovation has also come. So yeah, it was wonderful experience, lot of learning. But in year 2021, once we were matured, I think it gave a lot of satisfaction, because ultimately it was meeting requirements of the students, meeting requirements of the faculties, and also we need to ensure that education is not compromised. Yeah, so a lot to share, but I would like to take a pause. Thank you.
Right. So thank you, Professor Saurabh. So it is indeed, as we say, that right to education, somewhere to eliminate this digital divide, all the stakeholders must think and brainstorm to have right to have a digital platform for the learning as a right, so that no one remains without the basic infrastructure to learn, right? So on the similar line, let me invite Kamlesh to share his experience and also discuss about the industry collaboration that an academia has started during this pandemic, which has enabled actually for effective delivery. So Kamlesh, over to you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's indeed a great pleasure to be with you. And the pandemic certainly, it has accelerated education on a digital platform. That's undoubtedly, and it's very, very clear. And as far as education and technology is concerned, if you see the purpose of education, what is the purpose of education? Essentially, is to develop a holistic development of an individual, and also to create resources for better society. And what if we ask, what is the purpose of technology? The purpose of technology is essentially to address some of the biggest challenges faced by the society. So at one point, all of them, technology and education, they meet at one common point. Now, pandemic, it pushed us to such an extent that certainly we were not prepared. And if you see it in last 20 years, technological development, scientific development has outpaced our policy, making. And same is the case today. Like the technological advent, it was so much, like all over that our policymakers, they were left behind. In education, like we really had no clue how to go forward. And the experience, like we have had it, we are running an education society wherein, we have 32,000 students starting from KG to PG to PhD. Now, what exactly happened? If you go from, say, class, primary level to secondary, higher secondary, and then college level, and then up to the research, you find it that, yes, like in the higher classes, it has definitely paid a dividend. And one thing, pandemic, showed us, especially, to our youth, because if you see pandemic, the unemployment level was at its highest. So what exactly students, wanted? Students really wanted to go for that kind of online education, which would certainly give them employment. There were times, when one skill was enough to work for the rest of the 30 years. But now it is a time where you really need to upskill and you really need to reskill. So now, like education itself, to a greater extent, it has become an industry. It's when, we have to learn something online, student essentially, like he checks what is going to be the rate of return, in terms of my employability or my, upskilling. And if you see the scenario in Indian education system, it is very, very unfortunate. Today, like overall, if you see, like the graduates coming out of many of our universities, industry, they find them unemployable. They are absolutely unemployable because industry really, they have to, retrain them. So this is actually an opportunity. I see it, like especially, in higher education system, there's a great opportunity to have a tie-up, with the industry. And that tie-up will definitely pave a better dividend to our demographics. See, right now, like our Indian youth, it is still a bigger challenge. And more technology coming in industry, more and more automation coming, like machine learning, AI, and once, it comes up, it is going to be a challenge. Although, we are all optimistic and we'll say that, yes, like all our youth will be employed, but, it poses tremendous amount of challenges. And that challenges, it is very, very difficult to solve it. We cannot just, like keep our eyes shut that, all will be employed. And like there are fears, in certain sectors of the society, there are people, who are thinking, we are really a big country. And unless, like all our challenges are addressed, but yes, like in technology is also going to be the solution for this. And yes, schools, colleges, everyone, they have prepared themselves, like industries have come forward. If I cite you an example, what we have at our university, industry, from corporate industries from Hazira, they have, come forward and united with all the local industries to, plan out what kind of, courses, online courses. So we are training, like our youth and, graduates. So so they become employable, over technology or internet. That's it. Thank you.
That's great. Skills are very important, and industry is absolutely eyeing on the skills. And somewhere we have to ensure that these students are becoming more productive on day zero, rather than industry to go back and once again train them. And naturally, in this case, the technology and technological platform is becoming the true enabler. So let me once again go back to the panel and ask them with the perspective that if they can share their experience on the content which are coming up, assessment that we did, and now the future assessments which are going to likely come, and the internships that the students have done during this pandemic time and in future. So Dr. Amit, what you want to share on that?
Okay, great. At least, let me just spend 1 minute on something which we have tried from our end. See, we have two types of classes. One, we have got core courses where we have got 360 students class. And then, then there are separate classes for seniors, so for electives or for graduate students, where the students number is more manageable, 10 to 40. So most of the people who have to teach a class of 10 to 40, either over the net or offline, it is more or less the same. I mean, they didn't find any difference because you can still see their faces and talk to them. This time I'm teaching a core course having 340 students in it. In fact, my idea is that, it turned out much better in terms of student participation, because if you see that in a very large class where, there are some students coming from metro areas who are polished and can speak good English, and there are some students who are coming from rural areas, very bright, but, not having good command over English. So they wouldn't be asking any questions. But, over the net, they ask questions, in the chat window, or, they feel that, nobody's looking at them. So, they don't have to see someone laughing or whatever. So a lot of class participation, but one innovation which we did, and, I think I'm very happy with the results, that we hired 10 top rankers from the senior class. So I hired 10 people from the senior class of the third year to teach the student of second year in the labs. And, students were very happy because, they find it much easier to talk to their peers. So the lab experiment turned out very good. And, the students, are very happy. So somehow, for a very large class, we have been able to do this. Second thing, I think Professor Kamlesh Yagnik has rightly pointed out that, we have to take industry's help and, new technologies are coming. So let me just mention that, we have been looking at this and, suddenly this is a God-found opportunity because we are running Anchor Institute program at DA-IICT, which is funded by Department of Industries. And our goal is to train the trainers. So this is a 10 crore rupee project, and we are training faculty members from various technological institutes. See, till now, the problem was to call, and we had to call all the faculty members at our end, and then we would have some faculty members from DICT and some people from industry and teaching them hands-on skills. And now we realize that this is such a good opportunity to do online teaching that faculty members don't have to come to DICT. I mean, they can stay wherever they are. They don't have to take any leave. And still, we can have people from industry, sitting at their own place. DICT faculty members, sitting in their office, and they can teach. So we have received wonderful cooperation from industry because they have been doing it for a very long time. Because look at all the service industries. They are using the client software, licensed software to work on it, on the remote sites in the US. So they are very comfortable with it for a long time. It is something new to us. But with their help, we make this operation very easy. We take help of our industry friends, and they help us set up the proper server and proper VPN and how to do it, trained our IT staff. So I think this has been a great takeaway from this thing, which is now opportunity. Of course, challenges still remain, and challenges of digital divide and others will not go away till there is, the time passes and cheaper devices are available. We are taking help of government schemes. We are ourselves, we teachers donated some money and university donated some money into the very bottom of the class. We gave them laptops. So, we are trying out all these things, but, I think the takeaway is that students have picked up this very well. Faculty is doing it. Our industry friends are helping. So I think even when the offline classes starts, something, would remain online, for them to say evening classes or something so that, they can stay. And plus, I think the biggest blessings which students say is all the lectures are recorded. So the students who have problem, understanding English, and, in our institute, most of the professors are non-Gujarati. So they give lectures in English, and, the Gujarati students or people who are from Gujarati medium used to have a problem. And, I can understand that because I also studied in a Gujarati medium school. But here the advantage is that, they can listen to it again, maybe once, twice, thrice, and, then they're happy. So once again, something good about online learning.
That's great. You can pause the professor But on the digital platform, you can rewind, you can pause, you can fast forward, all those options are available.
I guess it's difficult to stop the professors from speaking. So talking about rewind is very difficult.
Just by phone karu 15 minutes.
Yeah. So Dr. Saurabh, over to you.
Yeah.
If you can share your experience on assessment, especially.
Yes. Yeah. So major concern is employability, and as per India's skills report, it is declining. So it is really worrisome. And if students are not exposed to the industries, again, it's a big question mark. So again, it was the major concern during pandemic. And as our internship is our major USP, and it is compulsory at end of every semester. So, but again, like with every challenge comes a new opportunity. So I think it was a very good experiment done by our university, where we had gone for the virtual internship, and surprisingly, we could connect 65 industry mentors across the globe, which includes mentors from US, Canada, Fiji, and so many other countries. So it was completely new experience. But again, we could actually get advantage of the industry mentors. And I would like to especially acknowledge GESIA. They have been instrumental from beginning, and we could take advantage of the industry experts in mentoring, in identifying the problems, mentoring, and evaluating the problems. So surprisingly, it was novel experience for the different categories of the students from different disciplines, because it is also observed that engineering graduates are not so good in financial working, and that's why many startups get failed. So that was wonderful experience. And we had projects of a different domain, starting from AI, data analytics, even in the healthcare domain, education domain, even food industry. So this kind of varieties we have not observed so far. And it was wonderful experience working with a multidisciplinary approach. So that was one experience, wonderful experience. And as an outcome, there were more than 5 projects which actually resulted into the funded by SSIP grant, and one project converted into the startups, which was used by 5 municipal corporations, and generated revenue of more than 2 lakhs. So it was wonderful experience. At the same time, we had also a series of symposium, international webinar, where more than there were participants more than 1,500 from more than 40 countries. So at least it was realization that world is too small, resources are easily accessible, and I think it's a value mover for building such a virtual community. So I think that realization is only during pandemic that we had not thought of. Then the third experiment was assessing the students. It is not just merely conducting the exam online, but at the same time to ensure that we actually ignite their minds. We actually develop critical thinking. We develop problem-solving attitude. So we tried different pattern of examination where it was completely open book, but it was challenging for the students. Even though everything is available, but they need to apply their mind. So I think that was wonderful experience. Perhaps it was not feasible to experiment prior to pandemic. So likewise, there were such many beautiful experiences. And as rightly pointed out, it was time to reskill and upskill. And I think it was great experience. Thank you.
Yeah. So just to have a very wrap up comments from all the panel members, starting with Kamlesh ji. So what do you foresee as a post-COVID situation in the education?
See, UGC, they have very recently issued a concept note on blended learning. And that's a very beautiful document, and they have yet to come out of and formulate policy out of it. It talks about 60, especially in higher education, 60% of the coursework or the total credit will be, it could be online, and 40%, you have to come. So that's something, which is very, very essential. new education policy, which is introduced last year also, has many options available, but it's today still it's a gray how it will be implemented. But yes, online, is here to stay, and it cannot go easy. Thank you.
Right. Dr. Amit, very quick comment post-COVID.
As Kamlesh rightly pointed out that, the online learning is here to stay. Yes, I see a future for it. I think there is a definite place for it. Similarly, there is nothing which beats offline learning, for close teacher-student interaction. But, then now I believe what would happen is that there are certain topics or certain classes which are very conducive for online learning. And, for example, programming type of courses where, students can easily do things, see the instructor's screen and, then try some of the smaller things. I think what majorly suffered was research component. Because, for research, we are still old fashioned, like to see with your grad students, with your master students, PhD students, and discuss it across the table and, throw ideas. So I think there is going to be a blend of online and offline. But, I would, for developing minds and for young kids, I think offline education is still better because, they have, I think college is an experience. If you are a senior student or if you are a professional, then online learning is fine, but, if you are just a student is growing up, apart from learning, there are many other life skills which you get from coming to a college environment, like working in a team, just being together, taking part in various cultural festivities. So I believe offline is still going to be a major part, and online learning, would find its niche.
That's great. Professor Saurabh, 30 seconds to quickly wrap up.
Yeah. So I'm also of the opinion that blended hybrid learning will be the new normal. And as far as technology disruptions are concerned, AI will hit the market. And we see tremendous potential for edtech industries. And in fact, I have witnessed one edtech industry where AI is integrated with education, where you are giving personalized learning to each individual learner. I witnessed one very beautiful concept called knowledge graph, where students can deep dive. Suppose I'm very much interested in machine learning and I'm not sure about linear algebra. I can deep dive, understand linear algebra, all the fundamentals. So that kind of products are also coming in the market. So I think AI will hit the market, almost all the sectors, specifically education. And it is assumed that students will have completely different experience of learning, and AI will be the technology enabler. And from the professor point of view, complete profiling of the students will be generated through such edtech platforms. And one more important one is the AR/VR to give the personalized experience. And there are so many platforms developed so far, digital contents, even virtual laboratories. Even our students have also experimented, also developed one learning management system where AR/VR is integrated. So we see bright future. And again, to be more competitive, you have to be technology driven. And I think this one was the best opportunity to experiment. And we see a bright future as far as the technology is concerned. And surely AI and machine learning will hit the market. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And let's have a takeaway of the session. Pervasive learning is becoming a reality. We have to go with the hybrid learning or the blended learning. Ecosystem supports are being created by the government in terms of the national education policy, and the edtech companies are there to ensure that how we can reduce this digital divide. And we see that the institutions are coming up with more skill-based courses where at least we can showcase and somewhere offload the pain of the industry of retraining. So thank you all the panel members. It was really an amazing discussion and looking forward to meet you all. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.